So he got fixed for his SI joint that was out of whack. I could see, I saw him drop it really good. Yep.
Now it's not as noticeable, but that one turn was like, ooh,
Boom. Yeah. And I felt it in the saddle. And like I said, I know there's something. But it's like, yeah, how do you fix it? I've had so many people look at him.
And then, Paige, you want to take them back and up a little bit for us, too? You can do it with me.
You can just start walking towards him. He'll back up.
Pretty good awareness. Thank you.
This will be like your Mecca. He's like, this will be the bridge, Mom. Oh. We do bridges and stuff for obstacles.
Not that you believe it.
There's a person coming too.
It should know. It kind of looks like a bridge.
I got 11:13.
Wow.
11:30.
The tape literally says 850. I should
Yeah, I knew that was wrong.
Yep.
And he seems, you see him dip his hip.
I have it on video. Sorry, you know me, I document. And then send you later.
Or documenting.
I just think it's cool.
Yeah. And I figured he's got a couple more months anyways for the winter to, grow. He'll grow his tail out really fast.
This is cool. Wepper's done this on a PPE.
Yeah?
Yeah. You hold it for like 15 and then you let it go. And if they...
Oh yeah, that's the normal flexion
Yeah.
test.
He's definitely looked at how early. He's being so good.
Oh, he's calmed down.
Look at how short he is. Short.
Well,
He's just trying to figure it out.
let me try it.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Good boy.
Thinking about it.
Good boy.
So, ready to grab.
princess with platforms.
I don't want to pull on your tail because you don't like that. There we go.
Oh, buddy.
I don't know, we're probably on the wrong foot, but we can always change it. No, it's
Ew. Ew. Good boy.
Then, we doing deep pieces?
So in your mind,
The first one we start off with is our hoof pastern axis. So that essentially means that I'm drawing a line from here all the way to the tip of this toe, and it should be straight.
it is not.
Nope. It's a little bit broken back. So essentially, I have a curve here instead of a straight line.
Okay.
That is mostly because he has a completely neutral palmar angle. Now, a normal palmar angle would be lifted up a couple of degrees.
Yeah, makes sense.
And let me pull up a normal picture too.
Let me show you how jacked your horse is. Here you go.
Well, we see neutral palmar angles all the time.
Yeah.
It's like the most common. These are all bad.
Right.
Solid, solid. I love normal examples. This is closer, but still closer to neutral a little bit. Give me a normal foot.
So could this just be a breakdown eventually of just him?
I think this is our sad heel time, is what we're seeing in these
Sad heel
pictures.
time.
Sad heel time.
Gotcha.
So you can see there's normally supposed to be a little bit of a downward angle here,
Mm-hmm,
and then this is a straight hoof pastern axis.
Mm-hmm.
Not with my squiggly mouse, but
Gotcha.
so
Not with the squeaky.
I can tell you exactly how much depth he has on his foot, or his sole. So at his toe here, got a lot of foot, like a lot of foot.
Yeah.
A normal foot is anywhere between 9 to 13 millimeters.
Mhm.
He's got 19 from his toe,
Damn.
and he's got,
Literally, this is the 5th week.
he's grown a lot of foot. He's got 18 on the backside.
And he only gets like a little half of, like one of those little coffee cups, but it's like basically half scoop of grain. And then he just gets Timothy grass mix.
He says,
So
I'm gonna
he's
grow.
not on anything special. And then he gets joint supplements because I figured that can't hurt to keep him on, you know,
certainly
for
not.
an animal. So,
The big thing here I'm seeing too, so here is his heel. It goes across here and ends here, and as you can see from that picture, it should be a little bit farther up. So it should be like up here.
right.
So we're gonna be fighting with the low heels, but we can certainly use this mechanical advantage we have where we have a ton of foot to cut off some of our toe here and
Yeah.
just improve that angle automatically.
So that's the weird thing. He cut so much off that he thought because we adjusted his ankle so much that he was lame, possibly because there was too much, like, I don't know, tension, torque, whatever you want to call it. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
But you think that's not the case at all?
I think we could take more toe.
Holy shit.
Yep. And, we just have so much sole depth to work with here. He's actually a little bit negative in his palmar angle. So neutral is flat, negative would be coming down even further with our heel.
Okay.
So he's slightly negative on that.
All right.
So let's look at the front view. We can check out our balance with these as well.
And this is the right.
Yep,
Which
this
I
is the
thought
right.
was tippy. And it looks tippy.
So if we once more throw measurements on here, I can go right here, measure down to the base, and throw it over here. So I would say that he's a little high on the outside laterally. So he could,
exactly.
so he could have some shaved off on just the
That's on the
lateral
inside.
aspect, on the outside aspect.
Oh, the outside. Okay, sorry.
So
I can listen. It's fine.
there's less sole here
Yeah.
than there is on this side.
Okay.
So we have some to work with. And you
I
can
thought
also
that was a front on view. Wouldn't that mean that would be on the out? I guess.
so
inside.
our markers indicate what our outside aspect is.
So the right.
Outer.
Not facing his belly.
It mirrors.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the? I'm not losing it, am I?
See, sometimes you can see gas opacities going on. He has kind of some interesting incongruity of his hoof itself, but also there's dirt. There's a lot of dirt on here.
Yeah, he has a ton of dirt on his feet. Sorry. I should have knocked that off. Huh?
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, his pen is pretty much been a mud pit. It's slowly drying up now.
Now, I'm chucking this one at you on me because I wanted a comparison image. So these two are on me.
Thank you.
But-
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
So same story on this foot. We've got
A ton of soul.
billion yards. Our hoof pattern access is actually worse on his left foot than it is on his right.
Interesting. Yeah, that one works. What the? You messed up too.
He's here to cause you problems.
Have you met our animals before today?
So we've got around 18 millimeters of sole depth
On
this
both
foot.
sides?
So we're pretty lengthy. So this could certainly be causing pain in the back end.
Okay.
And
Do you think there's anywhere else we should check while he's losing his shit over here? Look, he's just going nap.
That depends on what you want to spend.
yeah, like I could certainly do stifle and hawk films. I think I would.
Is that?
So we could do 2 on each joint. So it'd be another 4.
100? Oh,
No.
6 altogether, correct?
Yep, that would be at the 6 altogether.
6 times 60 is...
I can't.
Is this angle normal?
So what we're seeing here is a little bit of leaning.
I'm sorry, what?
Leaning.
Oh, yeah, okay. Because
So we can count on what's here.
Yeah, I think that might not be a bad idea.
Okay. Yeah, we can certainly get those.
Let's do that before he decides
Wakes
to wake
up.
up.
And you have to.
See it better in this view. All right, I'm gonna go snag Dr. Liz and drag her into here to come take a look at these. I'm suspicious that we might have a stifle cyst going on.
Suspicious.
Very sus.
Suspicious.
A little bit of height on them.
So can you like draw? Can you draw like on his, like where you would want to have it maybe?
It's literally gonna be changing the angle of his foot so that it's more upright.
So it's more like almost like a saddle seat horse, better.
Like on his toes more than his heels.
I know, that's just what I'm associating with. That's just what I associate with, sorry.
If I had to associate these heels with a breed, he'd be a thoroughbred. They got nothing. There's nothing. They're running on the balls.
Yeah, they make them squat down like a duck. I never understood that. Because I had an error that we got off the track.
Deep distal flexor tendon runs over the navicular bone and inserts on the back of the coffin bone right there.
Yeah.
So if we look at it, it's easy to imagine here that, so we have our tendon, our deep distal flexor coming down here and it inserts here. So if our angle is higher, then it inserts, up here because our heel itself is higher. But the lower that this bone gets, the more tension that goes on that deep digital flexor and the more it rubs on the navicular right here.
Is that why his tendon running up the back of his leg is so tight above his hock and everything like that?
No, I would say that's more of a him thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see too many issues with that. It's literally just the friction that occurs going over the navicular bone increases so much when there's increased load because of load. He thinks it looks awfully suspicious for a cyst right here. You can zoom in on that too. There's just an incongruity here that I am not a fan of.
And then maybe I'll answer this, but do you guys think that his type of riding is
Stranger danger is not as bad when you're sedated.
No, he's definitely not as bad.
Can I just let you stay? I know. Stranger danger. like, did you bring treats?
I know.
You got like the narrow straight ones?
Oh yeah. Did you happen to take an oblique at all?
So this is an accidental
curious.
sort of oblique.
The main reason I ask because I agree. I think there might be a little something suspect there, and I don't know how much sedation you still have left or how cooperative he was as a fellow, but I'd wonder if you could pull a full oblique to see if you could get that medial condyle to stand alone. Because I agree. I think that there is some irregularity there, just for the sake of full picture.
And then I can show you really quick too. We took
Yeah, go for
both hind feet.
Go for it.
We are pretty low. We talked about trying to help that.
Yeah.
Did you say he had 19 inches of sole?
Millimeters. Yep. Yeah, that's going to make a big difference too, regardless of what's in the stifle, huh? How old is this fellow now?
12 this
Okay,
year.
cool. How long have you had him for?
Since he was 4.
Okay, cool. So pretty long time.
Yeah.
So I recommended that we trim back the toe as much as we can.
Absolutely. Yep.
Bianna, do you have any good ideas on how to try to build this heel up if it's been years of trying to get it and it's still...
That's the tricky part.
Well, the only time that he was probably okay, seriously, and he had a ton of foot, was when he was shooting up like a saddle horse. That's when the guy who owned him before was a farrier out passer, and he had, but
Right.
but he was probably on it like white on rice. Now, like I said, this is 5 weeks.
Yeah.
You okay there, buddy?
Snoring. Do you want to take that due before he fully wakes up?
So if you're gonna try it now, right? Yeah.
Go for gold, baby. Go for gold. Do you think that there would be any like limitations for him or anything specific that he needs to have? Like work related wise?
Because of the stifle or because of the feet?
Well, both. I mean, honestly, like I worked him every single day, whether it was lunging, riding, or both, just to keep him in shape. He looks like a damn couch potato right now, I swear to God. But
I'm back with the stairs.
Oh, really?
I'm back with the stairs.
foundation for horse my ass.
Fire breathing dragon.
Fire
Well, it won't be the end of the world too if he's not a fan or if we need to be
Really pretty good.
Yeah.
What can I do?
It's behind you.
Sorry about that.
I did tell him that you're going to give him a shot.
I think Bill
Threw it at you. Oh my God.
Is it the stifle cyst? Is it probably new?
Oh.
Probably not. So I think a pragmatic plan would be to see if we can focus on the feet first. Or depending on if we want to do everything at once or do things in a stepwise fashion. Because I would say, do you want to focus on the feet first? Because that might fix it. Maybe he's been living with this. Or he's not pain because of this. Outside of doing like a nerve block on this joint. You could stay in, we could tap that joint, we could block him, let him wake up, and then see if he's better. But at the same time,
I don't think you're going to get it in there quietly.
And so that's, well, and I know that Callie can explain this to you guys, but my thoughts are, because I know I've been kind of hearing and helping with this from a distance, but with this stifle, basically, with what we're seeing, and Callie can kind of power with you guys on it, but it's not something that's new. Most likely he's had that for a long time. So it's a question of, did he step on something wrong or do something weird? Is that suddenly causing his issues? Or are we finding a red herring? And really what we need to do, right? And maybe this has never been part of his lameness. Maybe we need to focus on his feet and not get distracted by something that we found, if that makes sense. It might be related, but again, without putting a needle in his stifle, numbing it up, and watching him go again, it's going to be hard for us to prove if that's the issue, right? So I think a pragmatic place to start would be, let's focus on the feet, let's change up the feet, because I think it's going to be simpler, for a simpler, less invasive place to start, rather than trying to worry about how are we going to get needles into his leg. And then if we're still struggling, then maybe next steps would be to say, hey, let's think about what else can we do for the stifle in the way of some type of joint therapy. So that's kind of my thoughts based on. That's
Yeah, I'm not
so
usually
what
fan
we
of just injecting a joint just to inject a joint. I want to know, like, if we're going to do that, considering how much of a drama queen he is, we got to be 100% sure that is our problem.
Well, that's the hard part. The only way to know that it's his problemo is to stick a needle in. So that it's it's tricky, and I totally understand where you're coming from, because trust me, I don't like to just throw steroids in joints or throw anything in a joint unless we have a good reason to.
Sure.
I'm totally on board with that.
I mean,
And that's why I think the more conservative but easy plan would be to start with focusing on his feet, because we know that that's potentially a good part of it.
right, so I guess I would need because my fair's not tomorrow, so, a complete workup about what we want to do, how we want to do it, because he's been trying to trying to get his skills back up.
Right.
My previous farrier was black term shit, and his heels went down.
Sure.
So my vet's like, get rid of them.
Sure.
And get a new one.
Yeah.
And then so we've been slowly trying to get his feet up, if you can believe it.
No, I trust it. Those things don't happen overnight, so.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think, how long have you had this farrier for, your current one?
Like a year now.
Okay, so you have a pretty good relationship with them.
Oh yeah, no, he's excellent, as long as it, doesn't harm the animal.
Right.
And, he's okay, he's absolutely open, because my previous vet, he's like, okay, we need to see higher angles, just like honey, you guys are saying.
Yep.
So we did 56 degrees in the back, 54 degrees in the front, and this is 5 weeks apart from what you're seeing right now,
Yep.
so.
Yep. What kind of a schedule is he on?
Say what?
What type of a schedule is he on? Is he on every 6 weeks?
He
8
was
weeks?
on every 8 weeks, and I told
Okay.
him he had an explosion of toe growth. Like, if you
Yeah.
think this is a lot, you have no idea how bad it was. So I talked to my vet, and vet's like, he's got to go on a shorter schedule. He's
Sure.
like, if he's growing that much toe,
So we're every 6 now?
Or
every
6 is what we had him scheduled at,
Okay,
but
yeah.
I told him about the problems he was having, all the weirdness. So like
Yeah.
he had heat in all 4 feet at
Yep.
one day.
Yep.
The next day he had it in 2, and then it was down to 1 by the end of the day.
Right.
And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Because it was freaking me out.
Right.
So my farrier thought, the reason he was coming out tomorrow is he thought it was because we torqued him up so much
Sure.
that he's seen in race horses that their feet just went bananas,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And he goes, maybe that's why he's lame, maybe that's,
Right.
that's where we're thinking about starting.
Right.
But because of the heat,
Mm-hmm.
that scared the shit out of me.
Sure.
And I was like, oh dude, we need a,
Sure.
we need a vet, man.
So is the plan going forward every 5 weeks, every 6 weeks?
I was
Are we
gonna
planning
ask
it by
you
year,
guys,
depending on today?
yeah, we're planning
Oh.
it by year,
Oh.
because we went from 8 weeks,
Yep.
every 8 weeks like clockwork to
Yep.
6.
So closer to 6?
But
Has that been for a long period of time or just pretty recently?
we just started it,
Okay,
yeah,
perfect,
literally.
perfect.
So he got done 5 weeks ago
Yep.
because he started showing
Right, because of the other stuff that was
the other stuff that's
Yeah,
going on.
for sure.
It's like we're
Yeah.
So yeah, so I mean, I figure at this point in time, if you have a good relationship with your current farrier, I figure some of the things that we're gonna do is going to be to give him some guidelines and some ideas on what mechanics we want to see changed and improved in the foot, and give him some ideas without, like, I'm not a big fan of like, here's your shoeing prescription, here's what you have to put on the foot, because he doesn't read the book on exactly what the book
Right.
says his foot should like, or what he should or shouldn't like.
Yeah.
And your farrier, he knows him really well and knows what's worked well or what hasn't over the past year, right? And getting to know him. So I think basically our goals are going to be, hey, I'd probably like to see something with a little bit more of a rolled toe in it to ease his breakover point.
In the
I'd
back,
say-
because he does have it where he adjusted the foot for the brake rollover.
And it doesn't look like it very much in his x-rays, I'll say that. Maybe
Okay.
we just need to exaggerate it a little.
Exaggerate the roll,
Mhm.
okay.
Yep.
Or he grew up that much toe.
And that very well could be too. Yep,
Honestly.
yep. And so that's why I always have to be a little forgiving, because we're seeing him at the end of a cycle, right? I'm not seeing all your farrier's hard work, I'm seeing it grown out.
Oh, no, no.
Weeks.
Like, if you told me, yo, your farrier's shit and he
Oh,
need to
no,
go,
that's not.
then it's fine.
Yeah.
I'd be like, look, you gotta go.
No. But yeah, so I think let's focus on that, kind of reducing the toe length, let's ease a breakover point. And then I think, to me, the next steps would be, I would think about some type of way to increase his heel height. Now, to me, that's a question of, I know we've been trying to, it sounds like, utilize the trim underneath, if that makes sense. So like not using things like wedges or other things
Yeah,
that
everybody
might
seems to
help.
be really against wedges.
Right,
Yeah.
which it's, in my mind, I don't love using wedges if I don't have to, because there's kind of this stealing from Peter to pay Paul aspect of wedges help with the mechanics of the foot, but sometimes wedges can further crush our heels.
Right.
And so it's like, well, you're making the angles better, but sometimes for the long term, it's not
It's not the right way to go.
not
Yeah.
always the most beneficial thing. So if I can get by without a wedge, that's the perfect thing to do. But some horses, at the end of the day, sometimes they need the wedge. So I would say considering some type of wedge might not be a bad idea, but it's a question of what type of wedge, right? Do we do a rim pad? I know he's got kind of snow pads on right now. Do we do more of like a full leather or more maybe a more full rubber pad? And you know, or heck, even do something more along the lines of a Myron McLean, which engages the frog, and that way we might be able to help save pressure on the heels. But I'm gonna throw out a lot of these things that are like, oh my god, so many options. But at the end of the day, again, the verbiage that we're gonna have in your paperwork to go home is, here's the mechanics we want to see. So I'll be honest, between you and your farrier, there still might be a little bit of playing around with what works, what doesn't. And it might be, hey, let's start with a 1-degree wedge and a rubber pad. Let's see if it makes them better.
Okay.
If it makes them better, then we know we're at least heading in the right direction. So that way we can then make better educated next steps.
So let's just, I'm just throwing this out. So if he does get better, let's just say with a 1-degree pad.
Yeah.
Obviously we don't want to leave it on forever.
In a perfect world, but if you sound with it, yeah.
Then just leave it on and.
There are plenty of horses out here that live in wedges.
Well, I told them I bought several seated horses and we wedged all the time. And I was like,
yep.
all these vets are like, well, that's bad. Don't do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, shit.
And there's many of them that live many, many long years and do just fine, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So it's one of those things that, and that's why I throw out some of these alternative types of wedges, because if we at least know that the wedge benefits him, then maybe with the trim underneath, we can still try and transition him at some point in the future back out of the wedges.
Right.
But we'll at least know that, hey, that's the mechanics that we need, that's the problem that we're having, and we know he doesn't need stifle injections anymore.
I just
That would be my hope, but.
fair. To put it nicely.
Well, hey, I heard he was good for IV, so if we need to, we'll put him under general in the induction room, and we'll just do it while he's asleep. A little bit more expensive, but heck, you can. If where there's a will, there's a way.
I'd rather not have anybody's head get kicked off like I've been in y'all's position before. And I'm like,
Right. But yeah, but I think that sounds to me like a good plan. Let's focus on the mechanics and the feet, and then let's kind of see going forward where we go from here.
second mom,
Yeah,
what do you think?
yeah,
Yeah?
I do.
Oh, somebody moved back there, you know, like, you would, like I was telling you, when I take them places, you would never think in a million years that, that I do obstacles or did mount at archery off of him, or, like,
No, he hides it well.
you would think he's a psycho, but he's so good at it himself. I'm like, when I went to go look at him, I was like, he was just a snorty mess, and I just, you know,